Welcome to Peaceful Soul, the place where science, health, and personal growth come together to help you build a life of focus and fulfillment. Let's start with a question that feels both familiar and unsettling. Why do some people seem to accomplish 10 times more than others, even though we all share the same 24 hours each day? The answer isn't luck or raw talent. The real difference lies in a skill that few people bother to train, a quiet superpower that allows extraordinary performers to rise above the noise. Neuroscientists, psychologists, and productivity researchers have studied it for decades, but it wasn't until Professor Cal Newport gave it a name that the idea truly caught fire. He calls it deep work. Deep work is the ability to focus completely, cutting away every distraction so you can direct all of your mental energy toward one meaningful task. Imagine locking onto a complex project for hours without your phone, email, or social media pulling you away. In today's hyperconnected world, that sounds nearly impossible. Yet research from Harvard, Stanford, and other institutions shows it's a trainable skill. And because it's rare, it becomes a priceless competitive advantage, like a precious mineral buried deep underground. The fewer people who can mine it, the more valuable it becomes. Over the last 2 decades, we've turned ourselves into live experiments in distraction. Smartphones have transformed every quiet moment into a dopamine slot machine. A University of Michigan survey reports that the average American touches or checks their phone roughly 260 to 300 times a day. If you sleep 8 hours a night, that's about once every 4 minutes while awake. Each glance may seem harmless, but it steals tiny fragments of attention. Over time, those fragments accumulate into what researcher Sophie Leroy calls attention residue, mental leftovers that linger from the previous task and slow your performance on the next. Like running a race while dragging a parachute. Here's the paradox. The very world that floods us with distractions rewards those who can resist them. Whether you're a student tackling advanced math, a programmer writing complex code, or an artist composing music, the ability to work deeply offers an edge that busy but shallow workers can never match. Think of swimmer Katie Ledecky refining each stroke, or young inventor Emily Carter spending long hours in her lab designing eco-friendly products. Their success comes not from doing more things, but from immersing themselves fully in one thing for extended periods. To understand why this works, look inside the brain. Every skill, from learning a language to playing an instrument or writing software, depends on strengthening networks of neurons. When you practice a difficult skill with intense focus, your brain produces more myelin, the fatty sheath that insulates neural pathways and allows signals to travel faster and more accurately. Research published in Nature Neuroscience shows that musicians who practice with deep concentration develop thicker myelin than those who practice casually. In other words, deep work doesn't just help you finish tasks, it physically reshapes the brain. Now picture the opposite. David, a college student, tries to learn Python while TikTok runs on a second screen. Each new video hijacks neural circuits unrelated to programming. Instead of reinforcing the pathways needed for coding, his brain weaves noisy connections that interfere with learning. The result? David spends nearly twice as much time to grasp the material and feels far more drained. The good news is that deep work is not an inborn gift. It's more like a muscle, one that anyone can strengthen. And because most people never bother to train it, anyone willing to practice gains an immediate advantage. In the next sections, we'll explore practical strategies, from designing a distraction-proof workspace to managing energy and building small but powerful habits, to help you develop this rare and valuable skill step by step. Now it's time to dive into practical strategies for training deep work and making focused attention a natural part of your life. These are not just abstract ideas on paper but techniques backed by research and successfully used by thousands of people. The key is to choose an approach that fits your circumstances because everyone's rhythm and job demands are different. First, think of deep focus like strength training at the gym. You can't lift heavy weights on day one. Deep work requires a planned, progressive training approach. Some people adopt a monastic style, cutting out almost all distractions to create space for intellectually demanding projects. This approach has helped many scientists, writers, and programmers produce exceptional work, but it requires iron discipline and a supportive environment to protect those precious hours. For busier schedules, consider blocking big chunks of time. dedicating a full day or two each week to deep work, much like Carl Jung retreating to a lakeside house to write and research. This lets you handle routine responsibilities while still carving out long stretches for real breakthroughs. If long blocks are impossible, build a daily rhythm instead. Reserve a fixed window, for example from 7 to 11 in the morning, and treat it like a habit. When deep work becomes part of your routine, your brain learns to switch into focused mode at those hours almost automatically. Some people favor more extreme tactics, like booking a hotel room for a few days and disconnecting entirely to force project completion. That creates intense pressure that can unlock big gains, but use it sparingly to avoid burnout. Alongside your chosen style, establish small rituals and routines to protect mental energy. Decide exactly where you'll work, when you'll start, and what tools you need before you begin. A tidy desk, comfortable lighting, and a pleasant temperature reduce the brain's adaptation costs. Set clear time limits for sessions, for example a 90-minute deep work block, and take reasonable breaks to prevent fatigue. Proper preparation is like a warm-up for a run. It helps you enter deep focus faster and sustain it longer. Learn to manage distractions too. Research suggests that after an interruption the brain can take on average 23 minutes to regain the previous level of focus. To reduce this, turn off notifications, close unneeded apps, and use website blockers during work blocks. A helpful trick is to jot down intrusive thoughts or tasks on paper so your mind can let them go and return to the main task. Train your tolerance for boredom because deep work requires the brain to sit with quiet. Without instant stimulation from social media or messages, practice taking phone-free walks or sitting quietly and focusing on your breath for a few minutes each day. As you get comfortable with stillness, your capacity for sustained attention grows naturally, just like muscles getting stronger over time. Remember that deep work is more than a work skill, it's a way of life. When you protect blocks of deep time, you send a message to yourself that internal values like learning, creativity, and intellectual growth matter more than immediate external rewards. That's a form of self-commitment that helps you work effectively and live with more meaning. When you start applying these strategies, don't expect perfection right away. You will have days of distraction and sessions that don't go well. Each time you return and keep training, you build a resilient foundation for mind and career. Deep work isn't a destination. It's a long-term practice, and the small steps you take today become the building blocks of greater achievements down the road. Now it's time to explore how to sustain mental energy and make deep work a lasting part of your life. If the previous section was like learning the basic moves, this stage is about building endurance so you can focus deeply every day without burning out. It's the key to resisting modern distractions, maintaining long-term motivation, and earning the rewards your effort deserves. The first thing to remember is that deep work cannot rely on willpower alone. Willpower is like a muscle, it tires with overuse. Behavioral psychology shows that willpower diminishes when we constantly make decisions or fight temptations. Instead of depending solely on discipline, design your environment and habits to conserve mental energy. A simple strategy is to set a fixed schedule, when you know exactly which hours are for deep work and which are for rest. Your brain stops debating and shifts into automatic mode, like brushing your teeth every morning. Rest is equally essential. Many believe that working longer equals higher productivity, but neuroscience proves the opposite. The brain needs downtime to consolidate memories, organize information, and restore creativity. Make time for activities that seem unrelated, like walking, cooking, gardening, or light exercise. During these moments, your subconscious works on complex problems in the background. Charles Darwin, for example, took daily walks and considered them vital to his research. Proper rest not only renews energy but also sparks new connections in your thinking. It's also critical to set clear boundaries between work and personal life. The habit of staying always online, checking emails or work messages after hours, prevents the brain from fully recovering. Create an end-of-day ritual, such as jotting down unfinished tasks and planning tomorrow, then shutting your laptop and leaving the workspace. By truly disconnecting, you replenish mental energy and return to your next deep work session refreshed. Long-term motivation comes from within. If you treat deep work as just another task, you'll quickly lose interest. Instead, Connect your focused hours to larger values, personal growth, creative output, or meaningful contributions to others. When you understand the deeper why behind your work, you'll find joy even during challenging moments. Ask yourself, what part of your work will make you proud years from now? That answer becomes the fuel that keeps you going. Consider Emily, a young designer in New York. Early in her career, she was constantly interrupted by emails, messages, and meetings, leaving her creative projects unfinished. After learning about deep work, she began dedicating 3 uninterrupted hours every morning to pure design, turning off all notifications and locking her phone away. Within a month, her projects were faster, better, and she felt more control over her time. Deep work isn't a privilege for celebrities or people with perfect schedules. Anyone can apply it with steady practice. James, a freelance programmer, experienced a similar transformation. He used to work late nights and was constantly sleep deprived. After adopting deep work, he set a strict cutoff at 6 p.m., disconnecting completely from work. Instead of stretching his hours, he focused intensely during the day, cut unnecessary meetings, and declined projects beyond his capacity. The result? Higher income, more family time, and improved mental and physical health. These stories show that sustaining deep work isn't only about focus, it's about balance. Protect your time, nurture your passions, and care for yourself to keep the creative fire alive. No one can maintain deep concentration all day, so embrace natural limits and make the most of every focused moment. Science also links deep work to happiness. Immersing yourself in meaningful activity leads to a state of flow, where time seems to fly, worries fade, and satisfaction rises. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who pioneered flow research, found that it not only boosts productivity but also creates lasting happiness. By training yourself in deep work, you invite more flow experiences and nourish inner peace. Of course, the process isn't always smooth. Some days you'll feel tired, distracted, or doubtful. Instead of self-criticism, see these moments as chances to adjust. Shorten a session, change your environment, or simply rest for a day. Deep work doesn't demand perfection, just persistence and a willingness to learn. After weeks or months of consistent practice, you'll notice dramatic changes, sharper thinking, less overwhelm from big projects, and most importantly, a sense of freedom over your time and mind. This is the true reward, not only better results, but also the empowering feeling of mastering your own life. In the end, deep work is more than a skill, it's a lifestyle. By nurturing mental energy, protecting quiet spaces, and cherishing each focused hour, you don't just improve your work, you gradually refine yourself. Now that we've explored the core principles, the training strategies, and the secrets to sustaining energy for deep work, this is the moment to bring everything together as a way of life. Deep work isn't just a set of productivity hacks, it's a philosophy. A new way to see both work and the world. To let it become a natural part of your life, you need to weave these ideas into the small, ordinary moments of every day. Start by reviewing your current schedule. How many hours do you truly spend on high-value activities? And how many disappear into news, social media, or scattered conversations? Track your time for a week and you may be surprised. Studies show we often underestimate our distractions by at least 30%. With a clear picture, you can redesign your days by blocking out golden hours for meaningful work. These blocks don't have to be long, but they must be protected. Next, create simple, opening and closing rituals for each day. Begin your morning with a familiar signal, brewing coffee, a few deep breaths, and writing down your main goal, so your brain knows it's time to focus. When you finish, power down your devices, jot down 3 things you accomplished, and note 1 task for tomorrow. Psychologist Roy Baumeister's research shows that clear rituals conserve willpower, reduce fatigue, and make habits easier to sustain. Beyond managing time, manage your energy. Daily light movement, a diet rich in vegetables and quality protein, and limiting refined sugar help keep blood glucose steady for optimal brain function. Adequate sleep, especially deep sleep, is more important than any productivity trick. Harvard research shows that just 2 nights of poor sleep can cut memory and complex problem-solving ability by up to 40%. Deep work demands a peak-performing mind, and that begins with caring for your body. A powerful psychological strategy is to apply progressive positive pressure. Start with short deep work sessions and lengthen them week by week. Slightly increasing the challenge stimulates your brain to adapt. Much like building muscle, neuroscientist Anders Ericsson's research on deliberate practice confirms that improvement occurs when the brain is pushed just beyond its comfort zone while remaining manageable. Remember, deep work doesn't only happen at your desk. Every time you choose a walk over scrolling your phone, or give someone your full attention in conversation, that too is deep work. Focused presence not only boosts performance but also enriches daily life. Mary, a young painter in Portland, once felt her art was nothing but pressure. But when she applied deep work principles to cooking, conversations, and self-care, creativity began to flow through every part of her life, not just studio hours. Community support is another overlooked advantage. Sharing your goals with a small group of like-minded friends naturally strengthens commitment. Motivation research shows that people stick with positive behaviors longer when they feel part of a tribe. You might form a deep work book club or simply pair up with a friend to check progress each week. Think of deep work as tending a garden. You plant seeds with your first focused sessions, nurture them with daily rituals, and harvest the growing rewards in both your work and inner life. There will be rainy days and moments when you drift off track. But each time you return to focused work, your garden keeps growing. Every day is a chance to enrich your mind and prove that in a noisy world, you can still choose quiet strength. Before we wrap up, if you found these insights helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next video from Peaceful Soul. Your support is the greatest motivation for us to keep creating content that helps you sharpen your focus, nourish your mind, and live more fully each day. Share your own deep work experiences or questions in the comments. We read everyone and look forward to continuing this journey toward calm and clarity with you. See you in the next video, where we'll keep nurturing a peaceful soul and a sharper mind, one focused moment at a time.